Hi, my name is Rebecca Ford. I'm the Research Director of the Energy Revolution Research Consortium, which is a cross-UK consortium looking at smart local energy systems. And today I'm going to talk a little bit about the role that these local energy systems can play in delivering a just and low carbon future. So in the UK, and indeed many other countries around the world, we've seen energy systems become increasingly decentralised as we shift towards more decarbonised forms of production. And over the past decade, what this does look like on the ground, certainly in the UK, has evolved alongside the changing policy landscape. So the feed-in tariff drove individual and community level uptake of small-scale renewable generation. And the image on the screen is quite common in terms of what I've seen when driving down, for example, to visit family in Cornwall. The road sort of dotted with solar farms. And so while there's no doubt that these sorts of policy instruments and the declining costs of renewable technologies have opened up a space for households and communities to start to engage with energy in new ways, much of this has very much happened around the edges of decarbonisation. And that is in stark contrast, I think, to the changes that we're going to see that are going to be needed over the coming 5, 10, 20, 30 years, which is going to see significantly more action that will be far more visible in our homes, businesses, and communities. So one of the key areas that action is going to be needed is around decarbonising our heating. And this will require a total overhaul of our heating systems, shift away from gas central heating, and probably a significant uptake of heat pumps, many of these retrofitted into existing homes. And while there's no doubt that obviously policy, regulation, the supply chain are really, really important, this intertwines with household level decision making, capacity, and indeed resources to drive this change. Hand in hand with this is insulation and energy efficiency upgrades in homes. Again, much of the building stock will need to be retrofitted, and this is going to see huge transition across society, across our communities, and in our homes, affecting everyone. Another area is going to be in our transport, so replacing our fossil-based vehicles with zero carbon options, whether that's electric vehicles or shift towards more public forms of transport and active forms of transport. Again, change is going to be required by every member of society. So thinking about access, thinking about inclusivity, and thinking about the distribution of those costs and burdens is going to be absolutely critical. And finally, the transition away from fossil fuels, thinking about new forms of energy generation, production, and transmission, will see a shift in the energy sector landscape, particularly in the jobs that are currently held. And we only need to look back at the coal mine closures of the 80s in the UK or more recently in other parts of the world to see the potential negative impact that this can have, not just on individuals and individual businesses as well, but also on entire regions. And so there's going to be real tensions between delivering this net zero future and making sure that people continue to have access to good work as the energy sector shifts. And I'm going to talk for a little bit now about how action at the local level really has the potential to support a more equitable transition to net zero. And this particularly in light of post-pandemic recovery that we're going to see. And so those areas that I just talked about that are going to require huge action in the coming years are also ones that have been talked about by many people as having an opportunity to really be a core foundation of our post-pandemic recovery. And indeed, they're also really highlighted in the government's 10-point plan and the changes that have been put forward by the CCC in their sixth carbon budget. And through our research, we have developed what we like to call the Smart Local Energy System PRISM. So this set of factors that can really show how action at that local level can start to unlock more effective and faster action that can not only support economic recovery in regions and across the UK, but can also help deliver net zero and unlock co-benefits in more socially inclusive ways. So first of all, unlocking some of those co-benefits through aligning activities. And when you look at it from a national level, the impacts of these individual local energy projects, and when you're thinking about it on a regional basis, could appear quite negligible. They're not really accounted for in policy and decision making. But local actors are very well placed to capture some of these benefits much more directly. So for example, providing warmer homes for people in vulnerable circumstances could have a direct impact on the reduction of care-related costs, and these are often borne by local authorities. So while that co-benefit may not really be visible or measurable at a national level, it can really be felt at a local level. The same goes for things like active transport. So looking at endeavours within cities to promote active transport, again, if implemented well, has the potential to feed through to health benefits. For example, around air pollution and city centre congestion, which again has a knock-on impact on local businesses. And so just to show you how some of these kind of relationships could work, we asked a whole load of people that were working in the smart local energy system area to tell us about some of the benefits they thought that smart local energy systems could bring and the pathways through this. And you can see that fuel poverty reduction is up there right at the top, as is community empowerment and self-sufficiency. And so there are pathways through which changing the way that our energy systems are managed and looking at things through a much more local lens can start to feed through to these wider outcomes. Local knowledge is a massive factor in here. And so working with local authorities and other local actors who really know their communities can help target interventions where they're most needed. And through the Prospering from the Energy Revolution programme, we're seeing local authorities engaging strongly in these local energy system projects. And this often means that the innovations are targeted towards, for example, those in social housing, or implemented in ways that support more inclusive participation than just if left to market mechanisms alone. In addition, they can support the development and direction of local supply chains. So really not just helping target those interventions, but building up the supply chains and local businesses around them. Engagement and trust is a huge part of this, and local authorities, local community groups or local charities tend to be more trusted by the community. They're better placed to engage more widely, better represent the views of the local community and make sure their voices are heard. And so taking a local approach can help to widen access and participation, helping ensure that local challenges, constraints and desired outcomes are better integrated into those local solutions. Coordinated local planning is absolutely critical here. So looking at the way the energy sector is changing and the increased integration that we're going to see across efficiency, heating, power, power delivery and so on. Places and cities are much better placed to look at delivering some of those integrated skills, supply chains and planning requirements. And if this can be done successfully, there is the potential to bring forward investment, employment and training opportunities sooner than they might otherwise have been there, by really leveraging these interconnections across things that are typically considered in silos. And this coordination can really only happen at the local level. Another area is around economic development and place-based prosperity. So helping to overcome some of the institutional or structural barriers that can be embedded in national funding schemes is going to be absolutely key. But also these local approaches can help integrate across existing support mechanisms more effectively. They can also look to understand some of the place-specific requirements and target new business opportunities, creating jobs, increasing spending power, or reinvesting money back into that local community. But none of this is without its challenges, and I'm just going to talk about 3 really key challenges that need to be overcome. So first of all, we see that local areas and local authorities have really significant ambition and have made really great pledges and commitments towards delivering net zero. But they don't have enough capacity, resources, or accountability at the local level. And this is really important to ensure that, that their work towards delivering net zero can align with some of the other really important outcomes that local authorities are trying to achieve. Secondly, we don't have strong enough alignment across scales, particularly when thinking about decision-making and governance structures. So, for example, even looking across heating as thinking about the onus being on households to take action, but the supply chains aren't there. The financial support isn't there. So we'll start to see those who have the resources and the skills to make changes and leave others behind. And so while some endeavours at the local level, for example, working through social housing, can help, it's not enough. And we need better coordination from individual decision-making through to national level policies. And finally, I think engagement needs to be more meaningful. What we're seeing right now is people being engaged more effectively, and we're seeing more, I guess, consumer-centric solutions being developed. But I think that this isn't enough. We need to go further and think more seriously about meaningful participation, co-creation, ownership of what our future looks like, what our future lives look like, what our future cities look like, and really think about how people can be engaged most effectively. So I think my 10 minutes are up and I'm going to have to leave it there, but I really look forward to continuing the conversation. And I do encourage you to reach out to me via email or on Twitter if you want to continue the conversation further, or if you've got any questions. Thank you very much.